Live fantasy football draft. Got my buddy Napsterman who just went first. Took Peyton Manning, the bastard. That's all right, though. I got a little something up my sleeve. Don't care, because I'm just going to take Peyton Manning's weapon. Huge fan of Demaryius Thomas this week. I'm expecting a monster outing. Going to go ahead and just slide him right on into my roster there. So can't fault Nap at all for deciding to go with Peyton Manning, though. That is one solid selection. William V up next, wondering who he's going to go with. Some interesting RB selections this week. Le'Veon Bell at Cleveland, not been a great defense so far. Seattle has been exploitable against the run, but you always worry. The sixth man, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Russell Wilson off the board third. Ballsy play. I like it. William V, very nice selection. Russell Wilson, actually, my second favorite quarterback this week. So I can certainly see the merit in that selection. BMJ, I'm not going to try to pronounce the rest of the name. I will screw it up. Waiting on his selection. Going to be interesting to see who he goes with here. And rounding out our participants in tonight's draft, Rye Sport Guy, Viva Lasa C. It looks like that's Viva La Sac 26, Sacramento maybe. Pledge 6, Dos Equis XX, BD Tit Up, and K Krogs 01. Aaron Rodgers off the board, so it looks like I'm the lone man not going quarterback right now, which is interesting. Let's see. Rye Sports Guy. I wonder if he will break the quarterback monotony here and decide to go with a skilled position player. Very interesting. Interesting indeed. The first couple rounds, sometimes a little slow too. People weren't quite prepared. The draft snuck up on them, so they tend to maybe use their entire clock. But that's okay. We forgive you, Rye Sport Guy. Hopefully you don't get auto-selected for you. Looks like that's what we're heading for, though. And there you have it. Matt Ryan. Not a bad selection there, though. Ryan, obviously, a great matchup. You have to love Atlanta taking on Chicago at home in the Dome. Always a better opportunity for Ryan when he is tossing the pigskin around at home. Viva la Sacramento. I'm just going to say that because it sounds better than Viva la Sac. What kind of sack? Egg sack? A ball sack? Who knows? That's why I'm saying Sacramento. Just sounds a little bit better. Rolls off the tongue a little bit better. Pledge 6, Dos Equis XX, BD Tit Up, and K Krog. Probably all wondering who they're going to take in the first round here as we slowly wind down the selection clock for Viva La Sacramento, taking Phillip Rivers. So it looks like the auto draft loves some quarterback action for these guys. And it'll be going a little quicker if they stay on auto draft, because what will end up happening is it will take the selection much earlier into the draft. I am actually going to be looking away from quarterback. Once these top guys go off the board, there's a lot of mediocrity sitting around at the medium levels. So I will take my piece of mediocrity, but later in the draft, not really at risk of getting too many options pilfered, as there's only going to be, 1, 2, 3, 4 more potential quarterbacks taken. So should be pretty safe to just wait until the last round and take a quarterback. Basically, if you're not taking a quarterback early, you want to be the guy that's taking one late. And Pledge 6 decides to go with a quarterback as well. Jay Cutler right there. Dos Equis XX breaks the quarterback monotony by taking Matt Forte. Actually, my favorite overall runner of the week. So very nicely done, Dos Equis. I like the play a lot. BD Tit Up. Let's see who he decides to go with here. Probably a running back would be my guess. Either DeMarco Murray or Le'Veon. Or Julio Jones. All right. Well, listen, I was talking about how much I like the Atlanta Falcons at home. Julio Jones, obviously the primary component of their offense at this point, and certainly has an opportunity for a monster day against the Chicago defense that has been very subpar as of late. Marshawn Lynch, second running back off the board, and that certainly is no surprise to anyone who has watched Beast Mode play over the course of his career. Backing it up with Giovanni Bernard. That is an extremely interesting selection. To go Giovanni Bernard over DeMarco Murray and Le'Veon Bell, whom I both like a great deal. I think the case to be made for Bernard, though, is the massive workload he will be shouldering this week in the absence of A.J. Green and Marvin Jones. Antonio Brown, no-brainer there. Antonio Brown been one of the best, if not the best wide receiver in football through the first 5 weeks. DeMarco Murray, of course, a carries monster for the Dallas Cowboys. And now we are back into the realm of players that seem like they might be on auto drafts. So the teams aren't going to be terrible for them, but they're not going to get their own selections. Just a reminder to you boys and girls, there is an option to receive a text message when the draft starts. These live drafts at draft day obviously are kick-ass. You want to make sure you don't miss out. So if you are playing in one, check that little box that actually lets you get a text message before it starts. And you also have to check the box in your preferences. That is in your My Account section. So you can go ahead and head over there once you are finished watching this. And that is kind of the cool thing, though, is that after it's done auto-selecting for you twice, it would just put you into sort of like a sleep mode. And we won't have to wait for the entire clock to run down anymore. Looks like Viva Las Sacramento is actually at the helm. So we got Julius Thomas, first tight end off the board. No surprise there. Again, the Jets secondary is something to behold. That is for certain. So I'm a fan of the Julius Thomas play there. Thomas actually has more receiving touchdowns than anyone else in the league this year. That's not really a surprise considering what he and Peyton Manning combined forces to do last year. Rice Sport guy looking like he is on the precipice of another auto draft selection. Probably going to throw him a bone with a running back. My guess would be he is going to end up with Rashad Jennings, which is going to be a sad, sordid state of affairs for his team. You never want to auto draft the injured guy, but unfortunately that's the way the cookie crumbles unless there is something written into the algorithm to give him a non-injured running back. And it looks like there is. So very nicely done to the developers at draft day, I guess. They made sure you don't get stuck with a guy with an injury concern. I like Andre Ellington a great deal this week. You love the matchup. You love the opportunity he's going to get with Logan Thomas manning the ship for the Arizona Cardinals. Probably not going to be asked to do a whole lot. Probably going to be a lot of handing off to Andre Ellington. BMJ, which way are you going to go, my friend? Eddie Lacy looks like your de facto selection if you are not at the helm. So we will see as the clock winds down here. Hopefully you'll get your own personalized selection. But if not, Eddie Lacy, Aaron Rodgers, you're hoping for a big game out of Green Bay. Certainly possible. Certainly possible. William V with his next selection. Took Russell Wilson first. Probably going to look to pair him up with a wide receiver here or a tight end, although it looks like most of the premier running backs are off the board. So I would guess wide receiver if I had to venture. To venture a thought out there, taking a look at wide receiver. We haven't even looked at who I'm going to draft next. So Dez Bryant's still out there. Tough matchup. And he took Percy Harvin, which certainly carries a ton of upside. For me, this is a no-brainer. I'm going Jordy Nelson. I love the matchup with Miami, who has been terrible at defending number one wide receivers. And Jordy Nelson, just an absolute monster this season. So I like the start-off pairing of Demaryius Thomas and Jordy Nelson. Going to be interesting to see which way Napsterman goes here. You're looking at a bona fide professional daily fantasy sports player in Napsterman, and he'll probably go with a wide receiver as well. I don't think the running back options are very appealing, and I think you probably stick with Alshon Jeffrey, maybe Golden Tate here if I had to guess. Brandon Oliver getting a little feisty, a little frisky there. I like the Brandon Oliver and Andre Williams going with the two running backs about to shoulder massive workloads for teams that have no other options. Oh, man. Well, I'm stuck with running back now, so I might as well come down here and pick out the one I like. All right. Definitely just got interesting. I think I'm actually going to go with, or am I? Deep in the tank for this one. Only 14 seconds left. I'm just going to go with Rob Gronkowski. I'm not a huge fan of the running backs left on the board, and I definitely think I can pick up some guys that will be comparable to anybody I would select right now. So I think Rob Gronkowski is the play there. Just an opportunity to have one of the top two tight ends, especially with no Jimmy Graham on the board this week. I'm just going to go Gronkowski there, and hopefully a couple of these cheap running backs. I'm not going to say the names of the cheap running backs yet, because a couple of these guys who are drafting with us right now, they could very well be tuning into the live YouTube stream, and they could hear me say them and get some ideas. And I like the Golden Tate pick there. No Calvin Johnson. Golden Tate just been an absolute monster. The guy is a beast. Emmanuel Sanders, no surprise there. In a full point per reception format, Emmanuel Sanders is the god. LaShawn McCoy, you're paying basically for upside here because there ain't been an ounce of talent so far. But listen, LaShawn McCoy is good enough that he could go off at any given time and not look back for the rest of the season. He's so good that when he figures it out, it's not going to matter what the matchup is. Right now, he's basically in his own head. That's the only explanation. Alshon Jeffrey, nice selection there. I like the pairing for Viva la Sacramento so far. And Lamar Miller, I don't mind that selection, although that's what happens when you get auto-drafted. With Knowshon Moreno potentially coming back this week, it could spell the end of the heavy workload for Lamar Miller, especially considering the mistakes he has made in the last couple of weeks. Martellus Bennett, a solid tight end choice, especially considering how bad the Atlanta Falcons are at defending anything in the air. BD Ted up. He is next up here. And I like the wide receiver pairing. I decided to go with tight end and after my double wide receiver pairing. So it's going to be interesting to see which way he goes here. Very interesting. I feel like he almost needs to dip into running back at this point, but it's just a question of which running back he decides to take. I do feel like, though, a running back here is and he went with Joique Bell, who Bell carries a little bit of risk because it does look like he's going to be back, but Reggie Bush could be ready, and also Theo Reddick steals a little bit of carries. But look, Joique Bell should be a workhorse this week. Brandon Marshall, a great steal at the end of the third round. Listen, the reports of his demise have been greatly exaggerated. Brandon Marshall is going to be just fine. And anybody who tells you otherwise is either trying to fleece you in a trade in a season-long league or is somebody you should never listen to for fantasy sports advice. Or even period. You don't have time to waste on people that think Brandon Marshall is bad. Matthew Stafford as a quarterback selection, not terrible, especially considering he is the 7th QB off the board. And it's going to be interesting to see if he goes back-to-back running backs here. I have one running back in mind that I'm hoping I can get my hands on in the 4th round here. Hopefully he is not stolen by one of these next few guys. Nick Foles off the board. Fine selection as well. Foles just continues to find a way to get it done, though he has looked awful doing it. You have to wonder if he's, maybe on borrowed time at this point with how much luck he has received. Jeremy Maclin, a fine wide receiver, although you don't like the matchup with the New York Giants, who actually have a pretty solid secondary. The fact that Dez Bryant lasted this long is ridiculous. Yes, I understand the Legion of Boom, but the Seattle Seahawks have actually been one of the worst fantasy football defenses so far. Now, yes, they faced a lot of good offenses, 3 potential top 5 offenses when it's all said and done at the end of the year, but come on, Dez Bryant, a consensus first-round pick among most fantasy football enthusiasts. That is just a steal to get him in the 4th round. Frank Gore, you have to wonder how much he has left in the tank, but hopefully for this week it will be enough against the St. Louis Rams. Randall Cobb, a fine tertiary option in the Green Bay Packers defense. Again, we love all Green Bay Packers this week. And Roddy White, an interesting selection. We're kind of getting down into the dregs of wide receiver, kind of the middling options where there's not a distinguishing factor between a lot of them. And what do you know? William V stole the running back I was hoping would get to me. Thanks a lot, you jerk. You took Ben Tate. Now I got to start scouring the bottom of the barrel for some guys that I like. And it's not looking pretty. Not looking pretty at all. Yeah, some of these names are just embarrassing, but unfortunately it looks like I'm going to have to go with some of them. Just based on talent. And that is the sound of my imminent demise, also known as I need to draft a freaking player in the next 5 seconds. I'm just going to go with Justin Forsett, who continues to get the job done as the best running back in Baltimore by far this season. Looking ahead a little bit forward here, because I got to plan. You have to plan a little bit. This is tough. Sankey, Ivory. At this point, I want as much upside as I can grab, though. That's really the thing. Okay. Mohamed Sanu off the board to Napsterman. And also took Kelvin Benjamin as his wide receiver. Benjamin, a steal in the 5th round. All right, boys and girls, I don't like this selection any more than you do, but I'm going to go Shane Vereen here. Buffalo allows a ton of passes out of the backfield. Shane Vereen, a lot of upside if the Patriots offense is rolling. I'm going to go with Shane Vereen. So two guys that are slightly similar. Smaller guys can't handle full workloads and do a lot of work in the passing game with Justin Forsett and Shane Vereen. So at quarterback, basically I'll take whoever's left over. I like Eli Manning. I like Ben Roethlisberger. Going down a little further, I like Kirk Cousins. I like Austin Davis. There's plenty of guys. One of them will get to me. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how the rest of these draft picks pan out. Antonio Gates off the board as a tight end. Fine option. Fred Jackson as well. Perfectly fine player there. Fred Jackson also appears to be the primary component of the Buffalo Bills offense. As much as the C.J. Spiller enthusiast would love to see him in the spotlight more, Fred Jackson continues to stave off C.J. Spiller along with Father Time. Steve Smith Sr. has been a force this season, and he will continue to be such, in my professional opinion. And I can actually say that because I get paid to talk about fantasy sports. Alfred Morris. That's probably the first time in my life I've ever said that, and it actually hasn't been mockingly. Alfred Morris, a fine running back, although unexciting. No PPR upside. Not like Justin Forsett or Shane Vereen. Julian Edelman, a solid Tom Brady target. If you believe that the offense is back on track, Edelman should be back on track as well for, 9 catches for 70 yards or something like that, which is what he pretty much does every week. Victor Cruz, a ton of upside this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. We all know how out of hand some of those games can get very quickly, so I think Victor Cruz, a superb option for your lineups this weekend. Rounding out the back end of the 5th round, Delanie Walker at tight end, a tight end that I am in love with. And just overall, I love me some Delanie Walker this year. I think he is probably one of the more underrated players in the National I was going to say Major League Baseball, in the National Football League. And I think a large part of that has to do with the fact that he was a guy who really didn't get much playing time when he was up in San Francisco with the 49ers. And now that he is here in Tennessee, he's been a primary weapon on offense. So the perception needs to change. He always had talent, but hell, the 49ers' main threat from the tight end position could barely get off of blocking assignments to go out for passes, let alone a secondary option. So Delanie Walker finally getting a chance to showcase his talents. Greg Olsen, a great tight end selection as well, just keeps on chugging as a top 5 guy all the time. And you have to give him the respect that he deserves. Steven Jackson, now we're just basically into the bottom of the barrel as far as running backs are concerned. Eli Manning, a fine quarterback selection to take in the 5th round. Larry Donnell, a fine tight end selection. And we'll see who Viva La Sacramento decides to go with here. Larry Donnell, don't be fooled. He had a bad week last week, but they were triple teaming him when he was anywhere near the red zone. So he is the primary red zone threat, the guy we thought Ruben Randall would be for the Giants this year. Keenan Allen off the board. I like him a lot in this matchup this week. Heath Miller, I think a borderline tight end 1 option, given the matchup for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Cleveland Browns this week. Owen Daniels, another fine tight end to come off the board. And William V. looks like he is trying to cobble together his last running back here. Will be interesting to see who that is. Have some Jeopardy music queued up and playing in the background. Be the best way to go about it. Do 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 do. All right, I know that's probably annoying, and that is not what anybody paid to listen to. In fact, if you paid to listen to this, you probably got scammed. Just FYI, probably want to ask for your money back. Stephen Ridley, a fine selection as well. Bills have a tough run defense, but if the Patriots get ahead, they like to feed Ridley the rock. And at quarterback, for me, just going down and having a gander at these guys, I think Kirk Cousins against the Arizona defense is the best selection by far. Going to go with Kirk Cousins here. So that rounds out my team. Kirk Cousins, Shane Vereen, Justin Forsett, Demaryius Thomas, Jordy Nelson, and Rob Gronkowski. I'm actually rather pleased with this team. So taking one last look at the full draft, going to go ahead and pull it up on the screen so you can pause this and take a look at all the selections if you like. I'm going to grade my favorite team here. I'm just going to have a quick peruse through all of them and tell you who I like, other than my own. Of course, I like my own team the best. So that's not even an issue. Not even a question. Let's see. You know what? I think I'm going to have to give the mantle to Dos Equis XXX. Matt Forte and DeMarco Murray are a deadly way to start off a fantasy football draft. Martellus Bennett, a high upside tight end. We've seen that Jay Cutler loves to look for him in the red zone. Macklin also, high upside guy. Probably my least favorite pick of his is Jeremy Macklin, but I would have much rather seen him take Des Bryant over Jeremy Macklin. But hey, you know what? I think this guy has a very solid draft. Victor Cruz, a great steal in the 5th round. And Eli Manning, a fine quarterback with quarterback 1, QB1 upside this week. So Dos Equis XXX, or just XX, I guess. You are my favorite drafter for today here. Love your team, my friend. So very nicely done. And if any of you want to be a part of one of these, follow me at Crazy Gaby on Twitter. I randomly tweet out links to these sometimes saying, come join me. I'm going to record a draft. And, of course, you can play at draftday.com. Again, that's draftday.com. This is a live draft, but they also offer salary cap games, pick'em style games, all kinds of fantasy football games. You get paid out same day, and you're not stuck with one team the entire season. You play from week to week. So excellent opportunity for you to have some fun and make some cash on the side. I'm Crazy Gaby for Fantasy Sports Live, and I will see you later. Peace out.